Hi guys, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I've got a bit of a different video for you. I've been really getting back into my crafts lately, and I saw Harriet Rosie put up on her channel, I think a couple of weeks ago now, a sort of like an update of her crochet projects and what sort of things she'd been working on, and she did like a little explanation of them and things like that. And also recently I've discovered knitting podcasts, and I've been absolutely obsessed with watching those. So I'll try and link a couple down below that I've been watching lately. And it just kind of made me think that it would be a really good idea to put a video up on my channel just where I tell you what sort of projects I'm working on, maybe update you, I don't know, what, every month or every couple of months with my progress with different things, and show you things finished off and things like that. And yeah, where I've got things from. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to call this, even if I'm going to come up with like some sort of fancy name, or whether I'm just going to call it what it is. But we'll see. I'll decide by the time this goes up on my channel. But I've got 3 different projects that I want to share with you today, so let's jump into the first project. So the first project that I want to talk to you about today is my crochet project. I tend to work on one project at a time for each kind of craft that I'm sort of interested in, just because otherwise I have too much on the go and nothing ever gets done. So yeah, my crochet project at the moment is a big granny square blanket. I subscribed to a magazine called, can't speak today, a magazine called The Art of Crochet, and it was a monthly subscription magazine for a particular period of time. I can't remember how many issues there were. And you subscribed to every month, and every month they sent you the magazine, they sent you a ball of yarn or wool, and in the magazine was a page for the square for the blanket for that particular month. And basically you subscribe to the whole thing and then you make the whole blanket. So each square is a different kind of granny square, and it's out of this particular, there are maybe about 10 different colours that they use in various different squares. So I'm currently working on section 7 of 8, so I'm quite close to the end, and I started this around May time, and that's kind of where I am at the moment. So I've got on my lap a few different sections of it. I can't remember what sections these are, but they kind of look a little bit like this. So you can see that this is one that's joined together, each of the different granny squares, and then they've all been edged, and then I've sewn them together. So they use different stitches. There's double crochet in here, there's triple crochet, and then there's double, triple and treble crochet, as well as things like popcorn stitch and I think it's daisy stitch or pom-pom stitch that I've used so far. Lots and lots of different things in here. So that's one of the sections. This is another section. You know, they all have different things in here that you're asked to do on them. And then I have here, I'm actually edging section 7 at the moment, so you can see the individual crochet squares that I'm edging, and then obviously I'll put these together once they're done. I've really enjoyed working on this. Before I started working on this blanket, I had done some crochet before. I crocheted a baby blanket for one of my nephews, which I was really pleased with. I have got a photo of it somewhere, so I'll try to insert it here for you. But that was kind of made up of blues and greys, and they were kind of granny squares, which I can't even remember whether I edged it or not yet off the top of my head. Yeah, why am I saying yeah? I can't remember whether I edged it or not off the top of my head, but I was really pleased with that. And I'd crocheted a pair of baby booties for a friend who was having a baby, and a couple of other very small things which I can't remember off the top of my head now. What I've liked about making this blanket though is it's taught me different stitches, and it's kind of built up my skill in crochet. I really feel like I could tackle a lot more projects now. I can read patterns much better than I could read them before I started this blanket. And yeah, I just feel confident now that when I finished this, I could go and pick up something else and I'd have a much better understanding of A, how to read the pattern, and B, the confidence to go and actually do it, basically. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to crochet after I've done this, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to finishing this off. So like I said, I'm on section 7 and 8. I'm edging these and then putting it together, and then I'm going to do section 8, and then you have to put the whole blanket together, obviously, and then it needs one big white border around the whole blanket. So I'm thinking maybe in about a month or two, maybe a month, maybe not 2, I think a month, I'll probably be finished with it. So I'll try to film again when I finish this whole blanket and show you guys exactly what it looks like. I'm going to insert, I hopefully have inserted a couple of shots of it just kind of laid out in different sections so you can see it a bit more closely, because it's kind of hard showing it, like holding it up to the camera, you can't kind of see it in its full glory, shall we say. But yeah, really enjoyed working on this and looking forward to finishing it. The second project that I want to talk to you about today is what I'm knitting, and I was inspired to pick up knitting again, like I said, when I've been watching these knitting podcasts recently. I have tended to veer towards crochet, and I think I said this in my weekend reading vlog that I put up last week. I tend to veer towards crochet because I feel like I get places quicker when I'm crocheting. It takes me a little bit longer to knit something, so I kind of, yeah, I feel I lose a bit of motivation sometimes when I'm knitting. But like I said, I've been inspired recently to pick up my knitting again, and I was watching this one particular podcast. It's called the Canadian Knitting Podcast, and she hasn't put an episode up for a while, but I've been watching her backlist, and she's also got a booktube channel. She's Sarah over at Not Just Romance Novels, and she recently did a video on her booktube channel where she talked about the different things that she'd knit and like her knitting journey and things like that. It was really interesting to watch, and then she mentioned her podcast, so I've been watching some of the back episodes of that. And she'd mentioned on one of these episodes this particular designer called Tin Can Knits, and they have this collection called the Simple Collection, and they're free patterns on their website. I will link them, link the website down below for you, and they're basically patterns that are designed to teach you to knit, basically. And I do know how to knit. I have knit things in the past, but I don't have a lot of confidence when it comes to reading knitting patterns. And I suppose it's like anything, you stop doing it for a little while, and then it takes a little while to jog your memory in terms of what to do. So anyway, I've started at the beginning of that Simple collection with something called a wheat scarf. So I've printed the pattern off here so you can see what it's supposed to look like. It's in this sort of like goldy beigey colour here, but I decided that I wanted to knit it in pink because, you know, I love pink, and it's got the pattern on the back. What's quite nice about this is when you view the pattern online, there are links in the pattern so you can go and watch videos that show you how to do things like cast on, knit and purl, and all of that kind of stuff. So I have done, I'm knitting it in this wool here, which I can't remember where I bought this from, but I will leave a link to it down below. It's like this blush pink or salmon pink. I really like the colour of it. And this is what I've done so far. So I'll just stretch it out a little bit. So you had to knit the first 3 inches of it just in simple knit stitch, and then the next bit of it, and this goes all the way until the very end, and then you just knit the last 3 inches of it. There's this ribbing bit in here, so I've been having to use stitch markers, which I've never used before, to see kind of where to put the ribbing, and this ribbed bit is basically knit one, purl one, and I've been doing like that, and it's been really interesting. I had to watch a video to learn how to cast on again, and then how to knit, and then I made a mistake when I started the ribbing, and I seem to have lots of different stitches on there that I shouldn't have had, and so I watched a video on Knit One Purl One. I realised where my mistake was. So I wasn't basically, you have to put the wool forward in order to purl and bring it back again in order to knit, and I wasn't doing that basically. But this is actually knitting up really quickly. I haven't worked on it this week, but this is basically last weekend. So this is about 6 inches on here now, and I think it's something like 57 inches in total. So I've got quite a bit of knitting to do on this to finish it off. But now that I know what I'm doing, it's quite mindless. So, you know, sitting in front of the TV or sitting in front of a booktube video or a knitting podcast or whatever, I don't really have to think much about what I'm doing, and I'm really looking forward to finishing it off and actually wearing it. And then the next, there's a hat pattern that kind of, it doesn't, I don't know whether you'd use the word it matches it, but there's a hat pattern that they have on here, and I'm going to use the same wool and hopefully wear them together, and I'm really excited to do that. The only thing I don't really know how to do is block. I think you're supposed to block crochet and knitting. I don't know how to do that at the moment, so I'm going to have to look that up. Probably have to do that for the blanket as well. But yeah, really enjoying this. Can't wait to get around to wearing it basically. And then the third project that I want to talk about is my cross stitch project. Now, cross stitch is something that I've done for a very long time. A long time before I knitted, before I crocheted. It was the one craft that I would consistently do, and I haven't picked it up for quite a while. And a couple of weeks ago I cleared out my conservatory, and our conservatory is a bit of a, it's not a dump room, but it's not particularly usable. It doesn't have a proper roof to it. Like, it's not a modern conservatory basically, so it's really cold in the winter and really stiflingly hot in the summer. Plus the walls or the floor are uneven, so you can't lean cupboards or tall cupboards against them. So in terms of like storing stuff in there, it's just a real pain basically. So I had all of my craft stuff in some shelving units that were below the window. So they were like, I suppose like little ones, so like half the size of these bookcases, or a little bit lower than that actually. Yeah, it was just a bit of a mess down there. I hadn't touched it for a little while. I just kind of, I knew that it needed a clear out. Okay, apologies if I've moved a little bit. My memory card said it was full, so I had to sort something out. So I was talking about, I can't remember where I was. It's been like about half an hour since I've been able to film again. So what was I talking about? Yeah, I think I was talking about, yeah, so I cleaned up my conservatory. I threw away a load of kind of like paper patterns that I'd ripped out of magazines and things like that, that I just hadn't really touched. And then I was thinking the other day about, you know, picking something up again and doing something that I was motivated to pick up basically. So I had a little look on Etsy for some cross stitch patterns this morning. Some bookish ones. I've got a bit of space on the wall opposite me that we want to put some prints up on, things like that, some bookish kind of prints. I was thinking a couple of cross stitch things would look really good up there, so I was thinking about, I sort of googled bookish cross stitch patterns, and I came across a few shops on Etsy that do cross stitch patterns for various different bookish things. And there was this one particular Etsy shop called, I think it's called Elle Cross Stitch. I'll leave a link to it down below. And it had a set of 4 quotes and images of the 4 houses at Hogwarts. So they looked really good. So what I'm going to do is I've decided I'm going to cross stitch the Hufflepuff and the Ravenclaw ones and put them up on that wall. So I'll put a picture of both of those up here for you. I'm a Hufflepuff and my husband is a Ravenclaw, so I thought that would be really sweet to have those two. So I went and got a few bits for it today, and I've just literally started it, so I'll show it to you here. So this is just basically the beginning of the badger, that's a part of the Hufflepuff one. So I've not got particularly far in it. I've only worked on it for, I don't know, about half an hour or something like that. But it's really nice getting back into it again, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to having them done and kind of framing them and putting them up on the wall. I think it will look really, really nice in here. So yeah, I'm enjoying that too. So there you go, guys. Those are the 3 craft projects that I'm working on at the moment. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments below. Do you do anything crafty? What are you working on at the moment if you do? And did you enjoy this video? You know, are you interested in hearing a bit more about what I do with my crafts? Because I did really enjoy showing them to you guys and talking to you about it today. So hopefully you enjoyed watching it too. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.